Heads up, this podcast isn't therapy. It's bold, blunt, and irreverent, but it's not a substitute for professional help. Full disclaimer is in the blurb below. Welcome back to Soul Path Alchemy. So this is the first movie mirror, and I'm going to begin with Secretariat as it's my go-to movie when I need to remind myself to hang in there and to stay the path and dig really deep. Secretariat isn't just a horse movie. This is divine defiance in motion. It's about impossible odds. It's about believing in something no one else sees. It's about being called crazy, delusional, too much, too intense, and running anyway. I don't just love Secretariat because he wins. I love him because he runs his own race, as Penny says in the movie, but not for ego, not for applause, but because it's who he is. For me, this movie is about authenticity, just being the force of nature you always were. No bridle, no blinkers, no borrowed permission, no apologies. So Secretariat won the Belmont Stakes in 1973. And he didn't just win it, he won it by 31 lengths. He broke time. They called it the greatest race ever run, not because he beat others, but because he obliterated the idea of limits. So what would happen in life if we all just ran our race? What if you stopped trotting and started thundering? So Secretariat is the archetype of the unstoppable soul, if it's kept safe. So he was born to run beyond all logic. But without containment, he would have burnt out, been misunderstood, mistreated like so many other horses. So let me just explain containment for those of you who are not what I call therapized. Containment is what happens when someone holds space for your emotions without getting overwhelmed, reacting, or trying to fix you. It's essentially the difference between, oh my God, that's too much, calm down, or it's okay, I'm right here, keep going. So a contained space feels safe, calm, and spacious, like a deep breath. It helps us slow down, hear ourselves, and start to make meaning. It's never about advice. No one ever wants that. It's about presence. So Secretariat had a lot of containment. He had a strong internal field built over time through necessity. So your own internal field is the atmosphere you carry inside you, the emotional space you live in, even when everything outside looks fine. So he had a powerful internal field that was more than likely born from never leaving the Cheneries, the homestead. It was his holding field. So if he had been bought and sold 7 times like most poor horses, he never would have won, in my opinion. I've looked at his astrology, I've looked at his chart. So his moon is in Capricorn. He needed discipline, ambition, emotional containment. And his ascendant is in Sagittarius. So that's an outward identity. He had freedom, fire, expansion. It's his soul's gallop, the uncontainable, prophetic wildness that sees farther than others. Essentially, his soul signature said, I run like nothing can stop me because nothing can. Secretariat didn't run to win. He ran because he wasn't built to hold back. So what if your soul knew something your reality didn't? What if it knew before the applause, before the proof, before anyone else could see it? What if it whispered, run anyway? So Secretariat isn't just a movie about a horse. It's a movie about the moment you stop waiting to be chosen and you choose yourself. And in doing so, you start a quiet revolution. I watched this film again, possibly for the 10th, maybe 20th time just after my father died. I expected to cry through the credits. It was why I chose to watch it. And I didn't expect to remember what I had forgotten. That some callings are non-negotiable. That some things you just know. And once you know, you can't unknow. Secretariat always reminds me of that. It reminds me of the holy defiance it takes to back your own inner knowing when no one else gets it yet, when the stakes are high, when the odds are long, and when the money men are circling and you do it anyway. Because deep down, you're not looking for permission, you're looking for alignment. You're not asking if it's logical, you're listening to the heart beat loudly in your chest. You're not calculating, you're remembering. So this episode of Soul Path Alchemy isn't just about a racehorse. It's about field attunement. It's about reverie and risk, and that strange sacred clarity that speaks through the soul. It's about knowing what's yours, even when it isn't visible yet. And it's about what happens when you stop apologizing for your vision and simply live it. So let's talk about what this film is really doing beneath the plot, beneath the horses, beneath the string section in the soundtrack. Because Secretariat isn't just a sports movie, it's a spiritual manual encoded in archetype grief, intuition, and the quiet ferocity of the feminine when she stops asking for permission. So the key heroine is Penny Chinnery. She's not trying to save the world. She's trying to save a bloodline, the lineage, the soul thread, the thing no one else saw as worth saving. So Penny is kind of a visionary mother, not in the biological sense, but in the mythic sense. She midwives something sacred into being. She steps in not just for the horse, but for the legacy her father was too frail to finish. This is individuation through ancestral reclamation. This is the daughter stepping into the father's story and changing the ending. And of course she's accused of being selfish, irrational, neglecting her family, chasing madness. That's what happens when women follow soul over script. When we stop chasing safety and start choosing sovereignty. It always looks like rebellion until it becomes legacy. So the horse is a soul symbol. Secretariat isn't just a horse. He's a soul image. He's the animating force, the wild freedom, the unstoppable life current that doesn't care what the boardroom thinks. In Jungian terms, he's the self, the full integrated radiant potential of the psyche. Every person watching this film wants to be Secretariat, but most of us are Penny. Watching our fire be called madness before it wins everything. Watching our knowing be mocked until the world can't ignore it anymore. Secretariat is the part of us that doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't wait, he runs. And Penny, she's not just believing in him, she's remembering what she carries. She catches up to the part of herself that already knows. So Penny bets the farm, literally before the win, before the proof, before the media hype, before the numbers say yes. This is a sacred absurdity of faith in action. The world calls it delusion until it becomes history. And that is the question this film places at the heart of the matter. What are you carrying that others don't see yet? So for those of us in therapy rooms, this is what we do every day. We hold a vision for someone who cannot yet hold it for themselves. We believe before the transformation is visible. We really do. We attune to the field of what wants to emerge. And that's what Penny does for a horse. She doesn't wait for confirmation. She moves from alignment. She walks into a world of suits. Bloodlines, statistical predictions, jargon, arrogance, eyebrows raised. Her intuition is dismissed. Her memory is questioned. Her embodied knowing is laughed at until it wins. But she doesn't just beat the boys. She doesn't need to. She partners with something faster than ego, and that's what threatens them. She represents the return of the intuitive feminine, not a softness, but a spiritual accuracy. For anyone who's ever been underestimated, dismissed, or politely erased, this part of the film will sting, and it should, because it's telling the truth. So another theme in the movie is ancestry, legacy, and the father wound. Her father's decline sets the whole journey in motion. She doesn't step in just for power or glory. She steps in because the man who shaped her can no longer carry the vision, and she has to. But she doesn't just imitate him, she transforms the inheritance. And this is not rebellion, it's integration. Not becoming him, but becoming who he could not become. This is the sacred path of finishing the race for someone you loved. The grief-laced courage of stepping in when you were never meant to be the one. So let me ask, who are you running for? Who handed you the baton, consciously or not, and said, go, finish it? And we have to name this too. Secretariat doesn't get there alone, no one does, not Penny, not you. This whole story is full of mirrors, eccentric, faithful, field-attuned companions. We have Lucien Lauren, the French-Canadian trainer with the check trousers, the strange style, and the enormous heart. He doubts at first, and then believes so fully it hurts. And then my favourite, Eddie Sweat, the groom, the whisperer, he listens. He speaks to Big Red. He's the bridge between the animal soul and the human world. Then we have Ron Turcotte, the wild jockey who's absolutely crazy with the cracked grin, nerves of steel, the one who trusts the animal under him, who lets the horse lead, who gives up control so something faster can fly. Each of them holds the thread, because it's never just one person, it's the field, the alignment, the resonance between beings. It's co-created. Penny may be the one holding the vision, but it takes the whole system to let it run. This is not a film about luck. It's not even really about horses. It's about devotion, it's about grief, it's about reverie. It's about remembering what you were made to midwife into this world and having the courage to let it out of the gate. So let's talk about field attunement and the sacred absurdity of knowing. Let's talk about the field. Because Penny isn't just making choices, she's listening. Not to the statistics, not to the shareholders, but to the hum underneath everything. She's attuned. And once she trusts it, others start to feel it too. Lucien, he begins to really trust it. With his garish ties, his hats and theatrical panic, he follows. Ron, he trusts it. Despite his sharp tongue and his gambler's grin, he trusts and he follows. They all look chaotic from the outside, like they're making it up as they go along, mad as a box of frogs, all of them. But chaos is often how field attunement looks to outsiders, because what they're doing doesn't follow convention, it follows coherence. They're listening to something else, something just beneath the noise. But the calm one, the constant one, is Eddie Sweat. Big Red's groom, his carer, his translator, his best friend. Eddie doesn't posture. He doesn't boast. He knows. He is present like Secretariat. He's the still point in the swirl, the one who doesn't need a chart or a timer to tell him what Secretariat is saying. Because he's in the field with him, always. And that's the key. Every soul, no matter how powerful, needs a point of stability, a home frequency, a sanctuary. So Secretariat, for all his thunder and velocity, wasn't built for chaos. He wasn't the wild, unattached archetype people think he was. He needed anchoring. He needed his homestead at the Cheneries. He needed Eddie. In his astrology chart, you can see it. He was a being who required constancy, a steady bond, a single unwavering presence to mirror back safety in a world of flashing bulbs and flapping suits. And Eddie Sweat gave him that. He never left. He was always there, brushing him, walking him, whispering to him, letting him be a horse, not a headline. That's the part no one talks about. How much greatness depends on groundedness. How much soul expression relies on sanctuary. Big Red may have had speed, structure, and spirit, but without Eddie, he'd have had no anchor. Without the homestead, he'd have had no field to return to when the world got loud. Penny trusted the field first. Lucian and Ron danced with it, but Eddie was the field. He didn't try to decode it, he just was it, he embodied it. And that's not mystical nonsense, that's coherence in action. Because the sacred absurdity of knowing is this. You often don't have the words for why, you just feel the yes in your bones. It doesn't come as logic. You feel it deep inside your heart. It's a chill on the skin, a stillness in the room. It's a smell in the air. You know it when you feel it. But it sounds crazy when you try to explain it. And yet, it's always right. Penny felt it, Eddie lived it, and Secretariat, Big Red, he ran with it. And that's the lesson. Don't wait for it to make sense. Truth often arrives unpolished, unverified, and by the time the world catches up to it, you'll already be across the finish line. Because some of us don't need to be convinced, we just need to remember. Let him run his race. That's what Penny says before the Belmont Stakes. Her father said it to her, she remembered it, and yes, she's talking about the horse, but she's also talking about herself. Because at some point you stop trying to manage the outcome in life. You stop trying to please the crowd. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. And you say, let it run. Let the thing I carry, the one nobody else believed in, let it run without apology. This line, this moment, it's not just permission for Secretariat. It's permission for Penny. She's not coaching him, she's releasing him. She's not micromanaging his stride, she's bowing to his nature. She's not performing for the cameras, she's letting the field express itself. That is the quiet ecstasy of aligned surrender. It doesn't look dramatic, it looks like trust. Let yourself run your race. Even if no one claps until the finish line, even if they laugh, even if they don't get it, even if you run alone. Because there comes a moment when you realize you weren't built to be understood, you were built to move from truth. And Secretariat, Big Red, he moves like truth. Not everyone sees it at first, but when he runs, the world feels it. And then there's the infamous coin toss scene. I love this scene. Penny walks into a boardroom of men who want her out. She's in over her head, they're circling like sharks. And she lets them flip a coin to decide the future of the horse, to decide the outcome of everything she's worked for. It's an insane moment in the movie, but it's also the most spiritual one, because she lets go. She surrenders control, but not faith. She doesn't collapse, she aligns. And there's a difference between giving up and handing over. This is sacred surrender. This is what it means to stop pushing and let something higher decide, to let timing, not tension, carry the thread. And yes, it's terrifying. But for anyone who's ever had to loosen the grip, for anyone who's ever whispered, "I trust you," while shaking, you know what that moment feels like. It's not about the coin, it's about the choice to believe. What's meant for me will not pass me. And then there's the stable scene. Right before the race, Penny walks in. Everyone else is scrambling, predicting, placing bets, and she talks to him as if he understands. And the truth is, he does. This is not madness, it's communion. This is where the faith and field meet, where the nervous system of the animal mirrors the nervous system of the soul-connected human. There's no need for language, there's only presence. Because when two beings are aligned in field and focusing frequency, words become irrelevant. He knows what's about to happen, and she knows he knows. That moment in the stable, that stillness, that breath, that silent hand on his coat, that is the deepest form of belief. No hype, no press conference, just reverence. Because some races are won before the gate even opens. So let's talk about the difference between magical thinking and reverie, because it's a theme in this movie. It matters deeply, especially when you're trying to birth something real into the world. Whether that's a child, a book, a relationship, a healing, or a horse who's destined to outrun everything. Reverie is not wishful thinking. It's not manifesting in the TikTok sense. It's not putting something on a vision board and hoping for the best. Reverie is inner craftsmanship. It's attuned imagining. It's soul-led inquiry. It's the ability to slip into that quiet liminal space where something wiser, something deeper speaks. And when you're in it, you're not controlling the outcome. You're listening for the signal. That's why Penny doesn't just push her will onto the horse. She listens, she waits, she aligns. She receives the timing from the field, from the horse, and from something older than strategy. This is what trance really is, not a trick, a state of attuned access. When entered with integrity and depth, trance isn't just a back door to the unconscious. It's a doorway to the superconscious, the place where wound and wisdom meet, where memory and meaning converge. Indigenous traditions have always known this, the shamans, the dreamwalkers, the medicine people. They didn't just revisit trauma, they retrieve power. Modern psychology avoids this language, but most of us who work at depth know that what emerges in trance can come not from the hurt self, but from the wise one. And trance is not rare. It's routine. It's a daily occurrence. You enter it every day before sleep. You enter it after waking. You enter it when you drive on autopilot, when you zone out during a film, as you sit in church, as you listen to the rain or the waves if you're at the beach. Your body already knows how to do this. When entered intentionally with presence and breath, trance becomes a portal, not just to the past, but to direction, to clarity, and to the next step. As Assagioli wrote, this is the voice of the higher self. It doesn't argue or shout, it resonates. He called it the superconscious, as Freud did. It was the part of us that remembers why we're here. One of my favorite writers, psychoanalyst Thomas Ogden, called it reverie. Not idle daydreaming, but a co-creative portal where symbol and soul speak in image. So how do you tell the difference between magical thinking and reverie? This is how I view it, and I'm going to explain it in a few different ways to help people really grasp it. So you can think of it as a radio signal. Magical thinking shouts into the speaker, where reverie tunes the dial slowly, quietly, until the signal comes true. And when it does, you know. You could also use the analogy of a compass. Magical thinking spins the compass and pretends north is wherever it wants. Reverie lets the needle settle. You don't pick the path, you align with it. And then, if you think about it in reference to Wi-Fi, magical thinking tries to stream without checking the connection. Reverie checks the signal to body, to breath, and to the field, and what downloads is alive. Then you can think of it as a tuning fork. Magical thinking hits it against the wrong surface and calls it music. Reverie waits for the note that hums through your whole system. That's your yes. So here's the truth. Magical thinking wants the dream to work for you. Reverie asks, what does the dream require of you? You see, Penny Chenery didn't fantasize her way to victory with Secretariat. She worked, she aligned, and then she let go. You bake the cake, you put it in the oven, you don't keep opening the door. The surrender phase is the baking. You've done your part, let the unseen do its part. That's not passivity, it's reverence. And then there's the thread within this movie that I deeply appreciate, the legacy of devotional love. You see, there is a kind of love that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't trend, it doesn't shout, it doesn't even always get thanked. It's devotional, it's quiet, it's fierce, it's unshakable. That's the love Penny shows. She doesn't sell the horse, she doesn't take the easy road, she doesn't run, she stays. Through doubt, through loss, through loneliness, through 1,000 small betrayals, she keeps the promise to her horse, to her father, and to herself. That's the part no one teaches. Constancy is a form of magic. It doesn't glitter, but it builds things that last. Devotional love isn't performative, it's protective. It says, I see you, I know what you carry, I'll guard the flame until the world catches up. Penny gave that to Secretariat, and Eddie Sweat gave it to him too. He stayed every day, he was the mirror, the sanctuary, the anchor. He didn't demand the spotlight. He gave Big Red what the world never could. Peace. And I try and do that too with my horse, Black Beauty. Black's a special guy. I don't commodify him, I don't push him to serve my timeline. I partner with him. I listen, I stay, I love him the way Eddie loved Big Red, with presence, with rhythm, and with reverence. And no more than Penny receiving that from her father, that's what my father gave me too. The model of loyalty, the model of steadiness and constancy, the quiet fidelity of someone who shows up and keeps showing up, no matter what, even when no one is watching. For me, it's important to carry that in my work, in my voice, in unseen hours of work, in the quiet that you choose, in the presence that you choose over performance. It's pure love, it's devotional love. You offer it without ever needing recognition. And that's not necessarily soft, it's soul and it matters. Not everyone will understand it, but my horse does, and the field does too, and that's enough. Secretariat was special, a field was given, a name was spoken, a home was held. He ran not to prove anything, not to win. His racing was a prayer. They say that Secretariat's heart was twice the size of a normal horse. He embodied the gallop that broke time, the miracle that memory could not kill. He was a soul so present who knew exactly who he was. And he had people who believed in him. They were devoted to him in the purest form. The individuals who surrounded him had soul recognition. Horses are so special. They're living, breathing currents of non-transactional love, without agenda, without story, without the need to be understood. They just are, and they heal everything they touch. The world may never fully understand what that means. Every time you brush their coat or meet their eyes or feel that silence between heartbeats, the whole universe nods and says, "This is what it means to love something all the way home." Horses are the bridge between the earth and the eternal. For me, they're a sanctuary, a cathedral, a living altar. You don't just worship them, you remember yourself through them. And for me, that's what the divine really is. My father used to call my horse God, as a joke. And in a way, he wasn't really joking. In a way, it's poetry, it's reality. It's the purest truth that could be spoken. He saw it, he named it, and perhaps without even knowing how right he was. Black is my God, not in the religious sense. And I think that Secretariat was that for Penny too, and for Eddie Sweat, and the people who surrounded him. Certain beings embody the divine so fully, so quietly, that just being near them restores your memory of where you come from. You see, horses never lie, they reflect, and what they reflect is pure, unfiltered, energetic reality. Black is my mirror, and trust me when I say this, just like the scene where Secretariat pees and wets everybody, a horse won't flatter your ego. They won't collude with your story. They don't care about your curated identity. They respond only to truth, to congruence, to coherence, to whether your energy matches your intention. So when someone meets a horse and feels resistance, it's not because the horse is difficult, it's because the horse is accurate. And the sensitive ones, Secretariat and my horse too, are holy instruments of truth. Black doesn't need to defend or withdraw. He walks in the field with his soul open. He reflects peace, safety, and presence. This reflection is pure medicine to me. The truth is, everyone wants a Secretariat, the race winner, the legend, the miracle, but no one wants to be Penny Chinnery, the quiet woman who gave Secretariat stability, devotion, and a home that never sold him. You can have all the power and all the presence, all the greatness and all the goodness, but none of it matters without right relationship. Secretariat didn't just happen. He wasn't born fully formed, destined for greatness, blessed by the gods alone. He was raised with care. He stayed on the same land his whole life. He had Eddie, his groom, who adored him, and a woman who believed in him when men scoffed, and a field where he could simply be. His body could become exceptional because his nervous system was held secure. That's the part that they forget. My beloved horse is no racehorse. He's not pedigreed, he's not a headline, but his field, it changes lives. His presence softens grief. His eyes have met the broken and never looked away. And he's quite captivating. But what nobody ever sees is the process, the slowness, the trust, the mirroring, the watching, the pivots, the silence, the sheer patience of waiting until it's safe, the devotion and the pure service that is and always has been reciprocal and in total balance. Because for me, love is service. This is attachment work, not in theory, in mud and breath and energy. This is what makes miracles possible. So if someone wants a Secretariat, you need to earn a horse's trust, hold their field, stay by their side, watch them, listen, wait, and have patience. And when they finally gallop, you'll know it's not the victory that makes them great, it's the love that gave them permission to run. The heart of the work is the rhythm of your knowing. Real change begins where no one's looking. You can't force a horse to move if he doesn't want to. No one, human or animal, can be dragged forward to insight, to catharsis, or to change. Sometimes it's more beneficial to go to the tail of the story, the part that knows sometimes the answer is behind you, not in the story, but in the posture, not in the analysis, but in the angle. Sometimes you don't need a breakthrough, you need a gentle tug from behind. A shift in energy, a whisper where you used to shout. I just want to add a little at the end with regard to Secretariat's astrology. He was born on March 30th in 1970. He had his Sun in Aries, his Mercury in Aries, his Venus in Aries, all in the 4th house. So this wasn't just about his home, this was his soul stable. The 4th house is the house of home, ancestors. It's a house where the inner foundation is everything. His inner power, voice, and love needed one thing above all: place. Not fame, not stimulation, not the crowd, just continuity, safety, a known gait, and a familiar hand. He was a racehorse with a root chakra the size of a continent. That 4th house stellium required deep belonging, not constant movement, and he got it. Raised on Penny's homestead, same grooms, same rhythm. That was not an accident. It was destiny fulfilled. His Jupiter was in Scorpio, so that's really significant. His power ran deep. It's pure alchemical force. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, protection, grace, and purpose. Scorpio is about mystery, regeneration, soul force, death, rebirth, intensity. So Secretariat wasn't just fast, he had a mythic staying power. Jupiter in Scorpio gave him the ability to turn intensity into flight, but only because the 4th house kept his nervous system anchored. He wasn't running from something, he was running as something, a force of spiritual will. Secretariat Saturn Mars was in Taurus. This is really significant, possibly gifting him earthly stamina, very much driven from instinct and body. He was so special, and he was loved all the way home. So I hope this episode makes you ask many questions of yourself, of what happens when you honor the quiet knowing inside of you, even when no one else hears it yet. If this episode stirred something in you, if you thought of your own horse, your own voice, or your own unlived fire, you're not alone. Feel free to share it with someone who might need that reminder too. Someone standing at the gate, still holding the reins, wondering if it's finally time to let it run. You can find more episodes of Soul Path Alchemy wherever you listen. Thanks for being here. Thanks for remembering what matters. And above all, may you run your race from truth. I'm Annie O'Brien. Until next time, have a great day.